Okay, this is Jack from Fluency.com, and welcome to this English lesson where we're going to talk about the power of sentences. The power of sentences when learning English. Now, I'm going to use an analogy here where we're going to talk about driving a car and why this is similar to learning English and what we can learn from this too. So there's a lot to cover in this lesson. But first, if you are new here, welcome to you. Please subscribe to the channel where we go live most Fridays at the same time. And I also have lots of other videos for you too. So be sure to watch the other videos on this channel. Now, we're doing this live. So welcome if you are watching live right now. We've got a lot of people in the chat. William is a member as well, so consider becoming a Fluency member here on YouTube. There is a link in the description, or you can just simply click the join button. And then we have other things to go through as well. So I'm just going to have something at the end just to help you think about this a little bit more deeply so you can really understand the power of sentences. But that's what we're going to focus on today. The power of sentences when learning English and why this is so important if you want to be able to speak with fluency, accurately, and without thinking about grammar rules. So I call that effortlessly. Without effort, meaning that you're not really having to struggle to think about how to speak in English. But it's also going to help you in all areas too. So things like reading, listening, watching TV, and having conversations in everyday life. So we've got people from Switzerland, Slovakia, Moscow, Chad, London, Brazil. It's great to have you all here. Please click that like button and also share the lesson if you want to. All right, so today I'm just going to switch screens here. We're going to talk about the power of sentences. And I think this is a really important topic. Now, look at this picture here. So what we have is a student driver. Now, in the UK, you can learn to drive when you are 17. So when you turn 17, you can start taking driving lessons and pass your driving exam. In the US, I think it might be 16 in some states, maybe even 15, I'm not sure. But I think it is earlier here in the US. Now, what I've done here is I've broken up learning to drive into 3 stages. And this is important because, again, it's going to help us understand the power of learning sentences. Because first, what happens in the UK is that you have to learn the theory behind driving theory. And this happens in a couple of ways. You have a theory exam where you take the test on road traffic signals. You have to talk about safe driving, how to park. And there's an actual test on this. But also, your driving instructor usually sits down with you and says, okay, to learn to drive, you need to use the pedals when you change gear. This is the gear pedal, the brake pedal, and then the accelerator. Now, I have made a lesson on driving vocabulary. So if you want to learn all about this, then go to my channel and just click the search button and look for the driving lesson. It's a good lesson. I think you're going to enjoy it. But yeah, you have to learn the theory first. So you learn the theory. Now, I think this is similar to learning grammar rules. And in my mind, this is not really that important. So when you're learning to drive, the driver can just spend 2 or 3 minutes saying, here's a gear stick, here is the pedals, the steering wheel, indicator. You've got the theory in your head, but you don't need to spend too much time on it. Now, the next step is this. To learn how to do it, to learn how to drive, to learn how to use the steering wheel. And this is where you are actually doing it and you're getting feedback from the driving instructor. Okay, so you're getting feedback from the driving instructor. They are saying, slow down, change gear earlier, use your steering wheel better, use the brake, slow down when you come to a roundabout. All these different things. And I remember learning to drive. I had a great driving instructor, and yeah, he was very stern and strong, and he knew exactly how to pass the test. That is relevant too, because passing the test doesn't mean that you are a good driver. But let's just say you learn how to drive, you pass the test. The next stage is this: to be able to do it effortlessly, without effort. And I love this word. I think this word is so important when it comes to speaking English and for you as an English learner. So to be able to drive effortlessly. Now this usually comes not just after you pass the test, but a few weeks, months after that, where you feel comfortable driving in the city, around the suburbs, on motorways or highways, going fast, going around roundabouts, parking. This comes with time. And guess what else it comes with? Repetition. Repetition. So the more you drive, the better you're going to get. After a while, you don't think about having to step on the brake, step on the clutch to change gears, indicating. You do this subconsciously. You do this without thinking about the theory of driving. This is so important. You do it without thinking about the theory. You just do it. It's natural. And this, you know this if you are a driver, because sometimes you drive somewhere and you can't really remember the journey, or you're driving somewhere and you're talking to somebody hands-free on your phone. I have a new car and I can plug my phone in. It's fantastic to be able to speak to people just naturally using the in-car microphone and speaker. But yeah, you can speak to people. You can listen to English podcasts while driving. You're able to do other things to a certain extent because you can drive effortlessly. You're not thinking about the theory behind driving. This is so important because that's exactly what I want to go on to, because look at this. We want to be able to read, listen, and speak effortlessly in English. So we want to be able to speak, read, and listen effortlessly in English. We want to reach this stage where we're not thinking about all the grammar rules and the right vocabulary to use in a very conscious way. Instead, we want to be able to just do this naturally without thinking about the rules that we have to use. Just like I'm speaking now. So when I'm speaking, I'm not consciously thinking about grammar rules. I'm not thinking about the second conditional. I'm not thinking about using gerunds, sentence structure, tenses, all the other things that come with this. Additionally, I'm not thinking about what I need to do with my mouth in order to make the sounds of English in the right way. Sometimes I do. Sometimes, okay, TH in my head, use a TH. Because as an English teacher, I try to model the TH sounds. But people where I live tend to just use the F sound. In London, this happens a lot too. But that's a different story, a little tangent, if you will. The key point is, I'm not thinking about how to make the sounds. I'm not thinking about sentence structure. I'm not thinking about the rules of grammar. It's just happening naturally and effortlessly. And how do we do this? How do we reach that stage? Well, I think the best way is this: the power of sentences. The power of sentences. And I'm going to go through near the end how you can actually use sentences in your daily learning in order to reach the stage where you are speaking, reading, and listening effortlessly. So the power of sentences. Now look at this. When you get lots of input, you store sentences in your brain. When you speak, you use these sentences. This happens unconsciously. So just think about that for a second. When you get lots of input, you store sentences in your brain. When you speak, you use these sentences. This happens unconsciously. And then the next part is really important, and I got this from antimoon.com. I think this is a fabulous website if you want to learn the theory behind learning English and more about how I like to teach English too. It says here, the brain doesn't really look for whole sentences, but rather for parts of sentences. Here they put phrases. You can also use chunks. It can build very complicated and long sentences from these parts. So it doesn't just imitate one sentence at a time. It uses many sentences at the same time to build original sentences. So let me get on the screen again and just explain this in another way. When you see lots of sentences, you store them if you repeat them. We'll come on to that soon. But when you actually speak, what you do is you take lots of the chunks of sentences that you've learned in the past and you piece them together to create your own sentences. So what you're doing here is you're actually learning grammar in a natural way. You're learning grammar to the part where it feels right or it feels wrong. So if somebody says a sentence that is grammatically incorrect, when you reach a stage where you know grammar, it will just feel wrong. But when you're speaking, you'll be able to use sentences grammatically correct because it feels right. It's all about that feeling you get, not about, oh, what did I learn yesterday, the second conditional? If I had, you're not doing that. Instead, it just feels normal to say, if I had more time, I would do it. It feels right. You get a little tick inside your head because of all the input that you have got. So you take parts of different sentences and you're able to create your own sentences. And that's where you can speak effortlessly and also flexibly so that you can create your own sentences. Let's have a look at the chat before we move on. Yusuf says, thank you, Jack, for everything. Your lessons are very useful for us. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Denise is here, a member. Hi, Jack. How are you? I'm doing very well, Denise. Good to see you again. Susanta says, we need to build different kinds of sentences. And Susanta also says, that's a very thoughtful sentence. Very good. If you are enjoying this so far, please like and share this video. Okay, so let's just do this again. Again, it says the brain doesn't really look for whole sentences, but rather for parts of sentences. It can build very complicated and long sentences from this part. So it doesn't just imitate one sentence at a time. It uses many sentences at the same time to build original sentences. How many times have I said sentence or sentences in this lesson? Lots of repetition though. Lots of repetition. So when we're talking about imitating, this is important because imitating English speakers is important. But when you actually come to speak, you're going to use parts of what you've listened to and heard over the long term to create your own sentences. I want to give you some examples now to help you just understand this a little bit more deeply. So I've used these examples for years now, and I think they're so important. But just look at these three sentences. I'm excited about going to the party. Okay. He was excited about seeing her. They're going to be so excited about meeting him. Now, 3 maybe simple sentences for you, but there's also a difference, and this is so important. There's also a difference between knowing something and being able to do something. Okay? And I think this is such a great life lesson, because let's say you want to learn history and somebody teaches you all about the Julius Caesar, okay? And so you think, okay, I know this, but do you really know it? Because you took a lesson once, you read a book once. The key here is to be able to teach somebody what happened during his life. That's when you actually know how to use it. So there's a difference between knowing and being able to use it. The same with English. I see this all the time. People say, oh, I already know the second conditional. I learnt the rules. So I say, okay, can you give me 3 examples? And then a lot of times they can't do it because they haven't turned that knowledge into be able to express themselves. And sentences allow us to do this if we learn them in the right way, which we'll learn about soon. So again, I'm excited about going to the party. He was excited about seeing her. They're going to be so excited about meeting him. Now let's see if I can highlight some of this. I think I can. Good. So what we learn here is after excited, we use about. So every time we use excited, then we use about. This is using the adjective preposition, which I made a lesson on. So after excited, we use about. Then we can also see after excited about, we use the gerund, meeting. Excited about seeing. Excited about going. So let's say that you repeat these 3 sentences for, let's just say 10 days. And then you want to be able to use this, but you want to be able to use it with a different verb. Okay, let's just say eating, or no, let's say have, to have dinner. I'm excited about having dinner tonight. You'll be able to say this automatically, effortlessly, because you have internalized that grammar rule. You haven't just learned the grammar rule, you have internalized it. You have reached a stage where it just feels right to you. That is the power of learning these sentences, okay? And then what you're also doing here is you're learning verb tenses. I am excited, present simple. He was excited, past simple. They're going to be so excited. That's the going to. The going to, it's not a verb tense, but you can call it a verb tense. And then you're also going to learn some more stuff like so excited. So we don't just use any word to before excited, we use so. They're going to be very excited. You can use that too, but so is a little bit more common. And then we're using other things here like going to the party, meeting him, seeing her. So you can see here that if we learn these 3 examples, or let's learn even more, 10 examples, then you're going to be able to use this structure effortlessly without thinking. So what we're doing here, again, is we're not just learning something, but we're knowing something. And to know something is different between being able to do something. So what can we learn from this? How can we take this, what we have learned so far, into something else, into something where we can actually apply this on a daily basis? Okay. Well, the first thing we can do is this: get lots of input. Get lots of input. Now, like I've said before, not all input is created equal. What is important for you might not be important for someone else. So input here is reading, listening, watching, basically. Reading and listening is probably the two easiest ways to think about it. Because when you watch a movie, you're listening. So listening and reading. But not all input is created equally. So it's important to choose materials for your level. Choose materials for your level. I've talked about this a lot. And the example I like to give is if you are starting to lift weights, you don't go to the heaviest weight you can start with. Instead, you go with the weight that you can lift right now for, let's say, 10 reps, 10 times. My wife is sending me real estate listings because that's what she does every day. So yeah, you don't start with the heaviest weight, you start with a weight that you can manage right now, suitable for your level of strength. But as you build strength, then you can go to heavier weights. Okay, it's the same with learning English. It's better to use materials that are good for your level now. And just quickly, my favorite material is, or resource, is a graded reader with audio. An audio book for graded readers. So choose materials for your level and then find or use sentences relevant to you. Okay. So this is when we're going to start getting into the actual application here. Because when you get lots of input, you're going to naturally come across sentences. But I think the most efficient way is to find these sentences and do something with them. I'm going to tell a little story now to talk about why I think this is important. So, my son is in grade 1, and at the moment, they're only in 2 days a week. So they're only in school 2 days a week, and the rest of the time, I'm teaching him at home, and then I come to work in the afternoon, sometimes evening too. So I'm teaching my son at the moment, and let's just say the work that they are getting through the school is there's not a lot of work, and it's all done on the iPad. So I'm doing some extra stuff with him now. And at first I was doing some things that they sent me and doing the extra work, but then I decided, you know what? I have a theory here which has worked for me and lots of people, which is the sentence method, how to learn English through sentences. So we got him some flashcards using the most common sentences in English right now, or for his level. So grade 1, kindergarten sentences. We're also going to get some grade 2 ones too. So what we're doing is he is trying to say the word on the flashcard. We turn it around, he reads it, and then what he's doing is he's trying to, what I say, store the sentence in your brain and then write the sentence out. And we've been doing this for about 4 weeks now, and his reading and writing has just gone like whoosh, up so high. So what we're doing is we're choosing materials for his level. We're using sentences relevant to him, and he's doing this every day. Usually we do around 25 sentences a day. He enjoys it, which is so important because we make it fun. And he likes just the relaxing nature of writing down slowly and making sure your handwriting is good. And this is what I recommend you do too. And you can do this in a few ways. I also think context is important. So what we're going to start doing as well is when we read a book that he likes, we're going to write down sentences from that book, and then he's going to learn those sentences. This is so important. And he's also getting repetition too, because we're using the same sentences. He writes them down today, and then he'll write the same one down in 3 days, and then in a week or two. And I'm trying my best to make this organized. So this is something you can do too. Find sentences important to you. Write them down. Repeat them out loud, which he's doing as well. read them in your head. Just get that repetition of sentences. That way you're going to internalize them. So to go back to this, use sentences relevant to you and choose materials for your level. And then what I recommend you do is repeat these sentences. Again, you can say them out loud. You can write. I love the writing of sentences. And also you can just read them in your head sometimes too. But Thomas has the advantage of having a teacher with him. So if he makes a mistake when he says the sentence, I can say, oh, try this instead of that. And as you know, English can be difficult because we have words like, which he finds interesting. You have words like would, with the exact same pronunciation. So this is something that is important as well. You have to learn how things are said. Otherwise, you're going to learn the wrong way to say things. So we have been working on this a lot, repeating sentences. But if you can't do this, if you don't have a teacher, then instead record yourself and find English audio with the sentences. But by recording yourself, what you can do is listen to the way you say something and then compare it to the original audio. And then you can notice the changes you need to make to sound more like the original. Okay. Now, I will say I have a program which comes with over 1,200 sentences with audio based on lessons I've made in the past. So if you want to learn more about that and to get all the sentences you need for this and to use software too, using Anki, then go to my website, to fluency.com, and then click on Fluency course and learn more about it. There's also a link in the description too. I'll put a link in the chat if you are interested in that. But if you don't want to buy that program or you can't afford the program, then what you can do is create sentences yourself and put them into software. Or if you prefer the old school method, the traditional method, you can get a notebook and write the sentences down and then repeat them that way. But I like the software, especially if you get audio, because you get the repetition of hearing the sentence again and again and again. And that just uses a different part of your brain. So then you hear the audio, you get used to the sounds of English, and then you store that sentence additionally in audio format in your brain. So that is how I recommend you do it. Let's have a look. Let's go to questions and answers now, and then I'll do a quick summary at the end. Let's see. William, I'm going to prioritize super chats. If you want to support the channel, send in a super chat. There's a little $sign to do that. And then also feel free to become a member. I'm going to prioritize member comments and super chats. So William says, who is a member, yes, this really sounds great because I never study grammar and I can understand all you're saying. This is so good. Well, thank you, William. Yeah. I just didn't know. I've done this in Spanish. I made massive improvements in my Spanish when I did this. I got sentences from the TV show Friends. I listened to the audio. I repeated them over time. I read a book. I used the reading method, which I've talked about before, where you highlight words you don't understand or sentences that are relevant to you, and then you enter these into Anki and you repeat them. So doing this just means you just have that repetition of the most powerful part of English you can use, which is a sentence or a phrase. Paula says, hi folks, first time here. Well, welcome to you. Please subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Can you please repeat the name of the site you've been saying? Yeah, Anti-Moon. There's a link in the description. Read that article. The way that they write is just phenomenal. I love the way that this person writes because they use simple English, powerful English. They don't use words and phrases that you don't need to know. Simple is good. Simple is effective. What is the name of the flowers in the background? It's called plastic flowers. Masludin says, very useful lesson. Thank you so much. Okay, here's some phrases here from excited. I'm excited about swimming in the pool. I'm excited about the dinner party. Yeah, so when you use excited about, you can also use nouns as well at the end. You don't have to use a verb. Gav says, I live in Turkey. I'm an English language and literature student, and I have to say you helped me a lot to improve my English. Thank you so much. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to have you here. Susanta, she seems to be excited about going to the USA. Good. Your lesson is so exciting. Thank you. Nalina says, I'm confused about one thing. I'm an English learner and don't know which accent should I use. And also, can I use a mixture of both American and British? Yeah, you can. People do. People do this all the time. I do. Well, vocabulary, I use a mixture. Ken says, I'm curious how to remember 20,000 English vocabulary in 1 month. It's not possible. It's not possible. Well, no. 20,000, it's a lot. Yeah, it's not possible. But just think about how much you can do in a day and how much you enjoy doing and do that. Do as much as you can. Better to learn how to translate easy sentences from my native language to English using flashcards. Yeah, so I like that method as well, where you translate sentences or you know how to say this in your native language. After a while, you won't need to do that because once you learn, I'm excited about going to the party, what that means in your native language, then when you learn all the other examples, you won't need to translate everything. You can just take that initial translation, understand it. This is key too. Before you learn and repeat a sentence, you need to understand the sentence and understand when it is used. Again, that's why I recommend using things that match your level so it's not too difficult. You want to build on what you know. Let's see. Every place there are Brazilian guys. Yep. William says, yes, Anki is a powerful tool for all students. I know it is awesome. Yeah, I love it. Hello from Germany. Can you help me? I know many words, but I have difficulty making a sentence. Can you give me a tip, please? That's exactly what this lesson is about, is how you can make sentences. It's through repeating sentences. Could you tell us how to improve our listening and comprehension skills? Thank you. Yeah, if you go to my channel and sort by most viewed videos, then there's, I think number 3 or 4 or 5 maybe, is a video on how to improve your English listening. Amber says, how to achieve the transition from input to output? Great question. Yeah, so getting lots of input helps. Some people say all you need is input. I think it helps if you have the output too, where you are also training the way you say things. That's why my LRRC method is really powerful, because what you're doing is you're listening to a sentence, you're repeating it, you're recording it, and you're comparing your version to the original. And then that way you can make changes so that you can say it correctly. And then over time, when you are repeating these sentences, then that's how you internalize them to be able to use them. But like we said, you take parts of lots of different sentences that you've learned and you put them all together, and then you can speak effortlessly. Just try this out. I think it's a good idea to try it. So what you can do is take the sentences we've learned today. I'm excited about seeing her. He was excited about going to the party. find another 10 to 15 sentences like that, and then just try making your own sentences. Last week you didn't conduct this live class. Why was that? I think... Oh, it was a holiday last week. It was Thanksgiving and then Black Friday, so our children were at home. Are you paid? Yeah, well, I'm an English teacher who... The way I get paid is through YouTube and my courses. So, yeah, I have a course to fluency.com. Check it out. Thanks for your response. Still miss that time when I was in Newcastle. Yeah, I like Newcastle. Does your course consider American English in your 1,000 phrases pack? No, the pronunciation is in British English. Some of the vocabulary is American. How can we make an immersion on the target language in our own country? What's the better method? I like just to say, do what you do now, but do it in English. So let's say obviously you can't do this for everything, but you can try your best for, let's say, friends. You can make more friends who are English speakers. And I know people who do this. When I was in Valencia, we were friends with a group of Spanish people from Valencia who wanted to hang around us. They liked us, but also they wanted to practice their English, and you see this a lot. So think about the areas where there are English speakers where you are, and make friends with people in the right way. But on top of that, what you can do is you can listen to more things in English. So if you watch TV, watch it in English. Listen to English music, play computer games in English, read in English, change your whole Twitter feed to English language, change the language on your phone to English, ask Siri things in English. I mean, there's so much you can do, but yeah, you can just do lots of things like that. I want to be as a native speaker. Yeah, there's a lot of conversation about this right now, saying like that. I always say your goal should just to be to reach a C1 level of English, where people can understand you, you can speak clearly, but don't worry too much about your accent. English speakers love foreign accents. So we love listening to a French accent, a Spanish, Russian. It's great for us. Could you give us a tip for learning vocabulary and the way for keeping it in mind? Exactly what I've been talking about in this lesson too. Where you can learn new vocabulary through that. Do you lift weights? I do. I'm getting a little bit more serious about it. Bulking right now. How do I get Anki? Just search for Anki download and you'll find it online. When someone speaks with me, I translate automatically in my mind, but if I don't translate, I won't understand how to change the situation. Again, I'll say what we've talked about in this lesson. If you learn and get lots of input, English sentences, and then learn how to use them, then you won't have to translate. He was excited about going to the party. It will just, you just know what it means. It's practice. Amit says, I was made redundant in the COVID and no money. I really want to improve English. I need people who speak good English. How do I get it? Make friends, for one. That's a long-term thing because you can't just make a friend today and speak in English tomorrow. It takes some time. But you can also do things like language exchanges where you speak in your language for half the time with somebody who wants to learn your language, and then you speak in English for the rest of the time. It's the best way to do it. Just search for language exchanges online. Do you drink tea every day? Yes, herbal tea. Thank you very much. I'm good in English, but the issue for me is the lack of confidence while speaking. This comes with time and practice. And just also know that, again, people love listening to people speak English in different accents, and that they really appreciate it when people try their best to speak. Okay. I'm going to leave it there. We've come to 40 minutes, which is a great time for a class. So what I want you to do next is go to the description and check out my other videos. If you also go to my channel homepage, there is a full lesson on this where you can learn about how to use Anki in sentences, and I go through this step by step. So go to my channel homepage and watch that video. Definitely check out the To Fluency program as well. Get my free book if you don't have it. Again, the description has everything for you. And also just please like and share this lesson. It really helps me as a teacher. And the more people that come to these lessons just makes me want to do more of them. So yeah, let's get lots of people involved and really build up this channel. Okay, so thank you again, everyone, being here live. I really appreciate you. And I'll speak to you all soon.